Your home is your fortress. It's the one place on Earth where you can lock the front door, shut the blinds, and feel completely, utterly safe. But what if the locks weren't keeping people out? What if they were locking you in? With someone else? Hello and welcome to the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format. Before we get into today's story, please go tell the like button that you read just running to the store for a minute and we'll be right back, then never return. In 2012, a 22-year-old software developer named Mark moved into a 2-story rental house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Mark was a man of logic and code. He worked long hours, often from home, and his life was governed by schedules, data, and rational explanations. He was tired, practical, and definitely didn't believe in things that go bump in the night. The house was older, a bit creaky, but spacious. The upstairs had a single large master bedroom, and above that, an attic. It was accessed by a small, unassuming panel in the hallway ceiling, a panel Mark never once thought to open. The crawl space, he was told, ran the entire length of the second floor of dark, forgotten space right above his head. It started with things that could be easily dismissed. Mark would come downstairs in the morning to find a single kitchen cabinet door ajar. He'd blame it on not closing it properly the night before. He found the thermostat turned down a few degrees and figured it was just the old system acting up. His brain told him there was a logical reason for everything, but his gut felt a cold, prickling sense of unease. He started to doubt himself. Was he really that forgetful? He chalked it up to stress from work, the long hours blurring his memory. He thought he was just tired. Then the small disturbances escalated into something that was impossible to ignore. One evening, he came home from a rare dinner out and found a half-eaten bag of chips on the living room counter that he knew for a fact he had yooned opened. He would swear he left his keys on the hook by the door, only to find them on the coffee table. He was a creature of habit. These disruptions felt fundamentally wrong. The final straw came when he woke up one morning and saw a dirty footprint on the bathroom rug. It was smaller than his own. Mark's brain tried to find a reason, an explanation, but there was none. It wasn't a dark alley. It wasn't a bad neighborhood. It was his own home, and the feeling of safety was beginning to crack. Determined to prove he wasn't losing his mind, Mark decided to set a trap. He bought a small, motion-activated webcam and positioned it on his bookshelf, aimed at the main living area downstairs. He wanted to catch the faulty thermostat in action or prove to himself that he was the one sleepwalking and moving things. That night, he went to bed with a strange mix of anxiety and anticipation. The next morning, he rushed to his computer, pulled the memory card from the camera, and began to review the footage. For hours, there was nothing, just time-lapsed shots of his empty, silent living room. He was about to give up, convinced it was all in his head. Then, at 2:17 a.m., a time stamp appeared. The access panel in the ceiling of the upstairs hallway slowly, silently, pushed open. A pair of legs dangled down, followed by a thin figure that dropped silently to the floor. The person walked downstairs, went into his kitchen, opened the fridge, and then sat on his couch, watching the muted television. For over an hour, they sat there, in his living room, before returning the way they came, pulling the attic panel shut behind them. Mark felt the blood drain from his face. He wasn't alone. He had been sleeping just a few feet away, completely unaware that just 6 inches above his head, a stranger had made a home. Mark didn't even grab his wallet. He ran out of the house in his pajamas, got in his car, and drove to the nearest police station. He could barely get the words out, his hands shaking as he explained what he saw on the camera. The police were skeptical at first, but the raw terror in his eyes was convincing. 2 officers followed him back to the house. They entered cautiously, weapons drawn. They found nothing on the main floor or in the bedroom. Then, one officer brought a stepladder from the garage and positioned it under the attic panel. He pushed it open and shined a powerful flashlight into the darkness. What they found was a makeshift nest in the corner of the attic. Directly above Mark's bedroom was a dirty sleeping bag, a collection of empty water bottles, and piles of food wrappers stolen from his kitchen. They found books taken from his shelves and a small bucket used as a toilet. But the most horrifying discovery was in the floorboards. A small hole had been meticulously drilled through the attic floor, through the ceiling of the room below. It created a tiny, almost invisible peephole that looked directly down into Mark's shower. The intruder wasn't in the attic when the police searched, but they didn't have to look far. Hiding in the crawl space behind the furnace in the basement, they found a 17-year-old boy who had run away from home months earlier. He had been living in unoccupied houses and, after Mark moved in, decided to stay, surviving on his food and watching his every move. His motivation wasn't malicious in the way a monster's is. It was chillingly practical. He just needed a place to live. Mark moved out the very next day. He couldn't spend another night in that house. 4 years afterward, he suffered from severe insomnia, could never again sleep without every light in the house on. The psychological scar of knowing someone was living in his walls, watching him, had shattered his sense of security forever. The most sacred space in his world had been violated, not by a ghost, but by a person. So tonight, when you hear a strange creak from the floor above, ask yourself, is it just the house settling, or is someone else settling in? Thank you for watching. And if you want to hear more strange, dark, and mysterious stories, we release a new podcast every week that you won't want to miss.